Hello everybody and welcome back. It's Max McAllister with episode 6 of Cycle with Max for how to be a better group cyclist. Today's topic here is going to be road hazards, hand signals, and voice call outs for dangers or hazards in the road. So this, as cyclists move along in a group, they're going to inherently encounter danger in the road surface itself, and I've actually, unfortunately, amongst the other cyclists in the group frequently. So there's a lot of verbal and visual communication that needs to take place to try and keep everyone in the group safe. Now, this is most accurately employed by expert cyclists that are riding in tight pace lines that are moving at a high rate of speed. So, but this stuff has trickled down into group rides with intermediate and beginner cyclists, and unfortunately it's grossly overemployed by those typical groups. So what I want to help teach you is not to be one of those people that's grossly overusing voice and hand signals and call outs while you're moving down the road. So let's talk about some of these things. Now, some clubs make it their culture to, literally call out everything. People are just constantly calling out every little pebble in the road or crack or anything. Now, that is the worst possible way to employ the use of this stuff. And for the one simple reason is it's the boy who cried wolf syndrome. So if you have 40 riders that are just all day babbling constantly about everything that they see in the road, then when there is actual real danger, by the time people are just sitting there cackling and all day long, you don't pay attention when you actually really need to. So the goal of this is to say and do the absolute minimum. Okay? So even if everyone around you is going to town calling blah, 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 you can be quiet if you choose to. Now, again, it's overused by beginner and intermediate riders. You won't ever see that in a group of expert riders. In fact, they'll ride along, they'll do a 50-mile ride and you'll only hear a handful of, voice call-outs ever in 50 miles. You'll see more hand communication with expert riders pointing at danger in the road. But for the most part, it's assumed that you are taking care of your own safety and you are aware of what's going on the road. You're looking at the road ahead of you. So where it becomes, again, most important for this is in expert groups riding really fast, where you're right on a wheel and you're doing 20 plus miles an hour and you really can't see. So you're effectively riding blind. So if you're in a social ride setting where there's 5 feet between bikes in every direction, people are sitting up, you can clearly see everything that's going on in front of you. There's just almost no need for any form of any communication on that level, because you should be looking at the ground, looking in front of you, be aware of what's going on at all times around you. So clubs that do that, it's a bad situation because of that boy who cried wolf. Now, actual danger. What do I mean by actual danger? That's 2 things. Something that will cause you or the riders behind you to crash, or something that will give you a flat tire, okay? Which can also lead to a crash. So, other than something that will cause a bike to crash or give you a flat tire, just keep quiet. Don't say anything. That's actually best. Now, one of the first things that people call out all the time, totally unnecessarily, are manhole covers in the road. So people will look at manhole covers like they're coming up to hot lava or a landmine. You'll see riders come and wildly swerve around manhole covers, just oh my God, you know, swerving dangerously for no reason at all. Now, in the instance of a manhole cover, if the manhole cover is flush with the pavement, you shouldn't say anything. Don't say anything at all. It's not a hazard, okay? The only time a manhole cover is a hazard, there's two situations. One is if it's exposed above the pavement. So if it's actually big enough, sticking up, you know, above the ground, that can cause a flat, okay? So that's a situation where you would point that out or avoid it, okay? Now, the other situation is if it's raining, then manhole covers become slippery. But if it's not raining and it's not sticking up above the ground, just stay quiet. And then secondly, and more importantly, just ride over it. Go right across it. There's nothing that's going to hurt you, and it's safe to go straight. So, speaking of going straight, this is, again, we'll hit this many, many times. The single most important skill you can employ to be a trusted group rider is to ride your bike in a straight line as much as possible at all times. So when you're the idiot who comes up to a manhole cover and whips his bike around it, you are a hazard to yourself and the other riders in the group, okay? So straight, and this, you know, let's say it can be potholes or a crack in the road. It's important for you to learn to run over these obstacles, to actually hit them and run over them. Because when you're riding in a group, sometimes you're not going to be able to avoid them. So you should learn what it feels like to run over obstacles in the road. So practice it. Consider it a part of your education to run over stuff in the road that won't give you a flat and won't cause you to crash. So riding in a straight line, super number one most important skill. Now, most ludicrous, again, in beginner and intermediate groups, I've seen people pull up to stop signs and pack up or bang into the bikes in front of them and then say, hey, nobody called out slowing or nobody called stopping. Okay. No one should ever have to say slowing when a stop sign is approaching. No one should ever say stopping when a stop sign is approaching. That's stupid, okay? Don't do that. It's just noise, and it's annoying to, you know, if we're riding through residential areas and neighborhoods, just all the cackling and noise makes us a nuisance as cyclists to the people that live in those areas. Okay, so there is no need to call out slowing or stopping for a stop sign. Those are things that are you should see. If you don't see there's a stop sign coming, you are too dangerous to be on a bicycle in a group. Get out and go somewhere else. Don't be in a group. If you're unaware, unable, if you're counting on somebody to tell you to slow down, you're too stupid to ride a bike and you should not be in a group. I can say that plainly. So you are in charge of your safety and you should be watching for when you need to slow down, when you need to stop. Slowing and stopping are terms the group should call out when you are unexpectedly slowing or unexpectedly stopping, okay? That's when you use those terms. You don't use them generically every time you come to an intersection. It's idiotic, right? So keep that noise, you don't need it, okay? Let's see. I did talk about swerving. Now, objects on the side of the road. This is a big problem. So trash cans, this kind of thing like that, trash cans, debris on the side of the road, rocks, gravel. If you're riding in the right line of bikes, you should expect to see that stuff, okay? Now, the things that people do, number one thing that people do that's dangerous, not necessarily for themselves, but for everyone behind them, is to come and graze objects on the side of the road. So it's really inconsiderate and really dangerous. So if you're going down the road and somebody's got their trash cans out here, if you're the rider that likes to run right at the trash cans and then whip around them, you know, you're gonna catch somebody off guard behind you. Now, of course, it's their job to be alert, but you're actually setting them up to hit a car, hit a trash can, hit something. That's just dangerous, rude, and inconsiderate. Anytime you see an obstacle in the road that is an actual hazard, you should move obviously away from it. You know, if you're the ride leader, pull the group away from the danger on the side of the road. Take people in a line, in a space, in an area that's safe and away from the danger, okay? Don't try and race up to the danger. Cars parked on the side of the road. Same situation, okay? Only an idiot, and I mean an idiot, rides along the side of a car. You should treat every car as if the door is going to open, because it will one day. And it's going to take you out, and it's going to take out everybody behind you, okay? So always leave enough room for the car door to for a car to open its door. That's just the dead minimum you should do for safety, and it should just be common sense. But I see cyclists do it all the time. They want the mirror to go right over their shoulder. I don't know why. It's stupid. So don't do that. And don't be the person who does that, because you're endangering other cyclists. Let's see. Other voice call-outs. Let's talk about car up, car back. Those are two big, car left, car right. Basically, the group of cyclists are trying to alert people to other cars, okay? So let's talk about where some of that is useless or unnecessary. So car up is the most abused and wasted voice call out there is. If you're traveling down a road and there's a car coming and you have your group of cyclists here, why are you calling car up? It doesn't have anything to do, it doesn't affect you, it's not going to bother you. You know, if somebody in your group's riding over here, this is, a Darwin Award. That person, they should never be riding on the wrong side of the road to begin with. So, car up has nothing, it has no effect. We can't change, we can't behave differently. It means nothing. So you're just calling out nothing. You're wasting your breath and you're making unnecessary noise. Where car up is a factor is if that car can affect the group in some way. So, if the group is approaching an intersection, now we need to know there's a car up, because the car could possibly turn in front of our group. That's a situation where car up is useful information. If you're just riding down a country lane, though, just stay quiet. It doesn't matter. You can't do anything about it. All right, car back. Car back, very useful call out. It alerts everybody if they're screwing around and floating around in the road. They need to tighten up, tighten up their act, stay as neat as possible and tight to the right-hand side of the road. Another time where car back people just unnecessarily do it is when they've come to an intersection, and maybe there's a stoplight here. If the group of cyclists are legally occupying the road and waiting for their turn to go, we don't need to know there's a car back. We don't care. We don't have to do anything differently. We're not breaking the law. We're legally occupying the road, and when that light turns, we're going to go. So we don't have to, do any different actions or get out of the way, or we don't have to let cars pass unless we choose to as a group. Like if we've held up a line of traffic, and as good cyclists, we want to let a group of cars go, that's different. But generically, just because we're going to cross the road or there's a stop sign, behave differently, we don't have to do that. We're legally occupying the road. We're not breaking any laws. Proceed and act, as normally. So car back can be a waste as well at times. Then left and right. So people calling car left and right and up. Sometimes it's very confusing because people can consider up, left, and right all different things. So if there's a car here coming this way, some people might call that, and our group is going to turn here, some people might call that car right. Some people in the group look at that as a car up because it's coming into our path. So again, those are kind of confusing. Me personally, just my take on it, I like to call it up if the car is coming in towards heading towards the group of our cyclists, okay, headed into the head of our group. So there's kind of a one to do there. But again, we should be using them as sparingly as possible so that if somebody does call out something about a car, it does alert you. Something's different, I need to know that. If we just call out every car going down the road, more boy cried wolf, then people don't pay attention when it actually does matter. Let's see. Now, call outs. Here's our group of 25 riders. These people back here, don't say anything ever. Who are you talking to? It's idiotic. If you're in the back of the group, why are you calling car up? We already know. Everybody up here already knows. We've already seen it or said it. You don't need to alert us from the back of the group. You're just jabbering. Don't do that. It's just a waste of breath. We don't need to know car left and car right from the person, the 5 people in the back of the group. We're telling you. You don't need to tell us. So again, wasted banter. If you're in this back 25% of the group, you don't have to say anything at all about where the cars are. And let's see what else I got here. All right, so voice call outs. Now, hand signals. These are really useful, in my opinion, because many times somebody's hand comes off of control. I see that. I automatically see it. I wonder why his hand's off the control. So pointing at debris or danger is very, very helpful and useful. Now, let's qualify that. Again, we're talking about beginner and intermediate cyclists. If you are the type of cyclist who is not comfortable yet and is not capable of keeping your bike calm and steady while riding with one hand, don't take your hand off the controls. We don't need you to do that. So everybody's seen the person who wants to point at something on the ground, and as soon as they take their hands off the bar, their bike's wobbling when they're coming to a stop sign, or they'll try and give you some sign that they're going to stop as they're approaching a stop sign, and they're not balancing their bike well. If you're not calm, cool, and in control of your bike and able to operate it in a straight line and a steady fashion, don't take your hands off the handlebars ever. It's more important that you ride your bike in a straight line than it is that you tell us about anything else going on. So until you're comfortable riding one-handed, don't take your hands off the bars. And let's see. And there's another, just a little kind of a cool gadget that for stopping. That if you have a cable-operated bike, there's a little thing this company Sigma makes that goes in line on your brake cable, and it's got a little hinge on it, and then a light. So when you pull your brake, this thing lights up to let the rider behind you. It's a little tiny light, no bigger than this, and it'll light up. So that's kind of a neat gizmo, just to alert people behind you if you're, again, uncomfortable taking your hands off the bars or something, to let people know that you're stopping. But hopefully you don't have people behind you that need some sort of voice or visual alert to stop. All right, so road hazards, hand signals, and voice call-outs. The general message hopefully you got here is use the least amount of it possible. That way, when you actually do say something, people will listen to you, pay attention, take notice that you're warning them about some actual danger. All right, so this is Cycle with Max. Thanks for hanging out for another one of my videos. Please subscribe to my channel, and we'll be back soon with more stuff to help you be a better group cyclist.